Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I am going to do part 2 right now of the mod project on this PM2. So if you watched part 1, you'll have seen I got some fun stuff for it. Sharp dressed knives, sent over these scales, which are dark matter carbon fiber with copper in them. I think it's going to be sweet. And then I got from BladesWeLove this set of hardware. It has kind of a bronzy, coppery finish to go with those scales. And then Sharp Dressed Knives was also kind enough to send over one of his lanyard tube removal tools. So we're going to go ahead and get this disassembled in this video, and we are going to, from there, do a little bit of ferric chloride, which I haven't busted this out in a long time. It's been quite a while. This has just been sitting in my cupboard. So yeah, we're going to acid etch the blade once it's out, which of course we will need to do a little nail polish and all that. So we'll go step by step and kind of show the whole process, but first things first, we got to get this Maxamet PM2 disassembled. So right now this is still exactly how it came out of the box from Spyderco. This was a factory seconds PM2, so I got it for $80, which is fantastic for a Maxamet PM2, and that's why it's become the project knife, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and bust it apart, and hopefully it goes fairly smooth. Start by doing the clip screws. Clip is always my step number one of disassembling a knife. As you can see, they ship it tip down. I don't know why Spyderco still does that. I feel like there are far fewer people who like to keep their Spydercos tip down than there are people who switch them to tip up. Alright, so that was my T6. Now I've got the T8. We'll go ahead and start pulling body screws out. I may need to grab another driver if these seize up a little. Let's see if I get lucky though. Good. Okay, that's not free spinning. And these are both loose, so that's good. Sometimes, because of the nature of the construction on here, you can get one of those to just start spinning after you break the other one free. Let's hope I get lucky and don't have that happen. Kind of feels like it might be on this one. Yeah, that's spinning in there. So I may just need to grab another driver. Give it one more shot. Hold on. Tighten this side down. Yeah, that's definitely free spinning now. Rookie move. Alright, let me grab another driver. I'll be right back. Alright, so I grabbed my kit. This is actually the driver set that I used to use all the time until I got these kind of designated WeHa drivers, but I did a video on this kit a long time ago, and I still like it. I use it quite a bit, but I just kind of keep these several drivers handy a lot of the time, and yeah, the kit, I don't know, I use both. I think that's probably the best way to say it. I use both. Oh, I grabbed the T6 like a chump. Let me grab the T8. There we go. Alright. That in there. This one in there. Alright, well, the other bad option happened. One screw came out, and now that other one is still spinning in there. We'll deal with that when we get it a little more disassembled. Now I'm going to obviously hang on to all of the hardware that I'm taking out of this PM2 because it's good to have extra PM2 hardware around. But give that one more. Yeah, that's just going to spin. But yeah, I'm going to be using the new hardware set, so this hardware isn't going to go back on for now. Wow, that is a tight pivot. Alright. That's pivot screw number 1. There goes pivot screw number 2. I can already feel this show side scale coming free. blade. One washer stayed in. Alright, so I gotta get this show side scale off. I go ahead and do this. See if I can get the lanyard tube to pop off easily. Doesn't appear that it will, so let's see. Another washer. Alright, so I've got to get this guy off of here. Let's see if I can get lucky and just with hand pressure get that to spin. Feels like I might be. Oh, alright, I'm gonna need some pliers or something. So, one more intermission. Alright, so I've got this deer skin chamois, which was recommended to me for sharpening and is great for locking a blade in place while sharpening. And I'm just going to take a little piece of it to make sure that I protect the screw a little bit, or the, not the screw, but the spacer. Just going to kind of use that to hold down on, and use these crappy pliers that I have. I'm going to grab onto that nice and firmly and see if that gives us. Yep, that'll work. So that just keeps me from marring this up, which to me is somewhat important. Alright, why is this stop pin? There we go. Stop pin's out. Alright, so now we've just got liners on here, and let's see what we're looking at. That's pretty firmly on there. I think it may be time to use the lanyard removal tool. Sharp dress knives included this. Alright, yeah, it looks like I can start using it while they're still together in this spot. So let's go ahead and get this out. This is normally the part of a PM2 or Para 3 disassembly where things go awry. So I literally should, I've got to loosen this up first. I should be able to just pull that up there. And you'll see it's got this notch right in there. See if I can make that show. See, there's a notch. So I'm just going to put that notch around here, and I'm going to go ahead and start threading this down to create the pressure to push through. Just trying to make sure I go slowly since this is my first time. Make sure I don't push too hard. Oh yeah, it looks like it is popped through. Let's find out if I'm right. Nope. It went part way. Alright, let's do that again. Yeah, I'm looking down into here, and I can see it's starting to come. Come on. I really don't want to feel like I'm forcing this, so I'm just taking it a tiny bit at a time here. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, it's definitely starting to come through. Let me switch sides and see what happens. Alright, back it out a little bit. See what we're looking at. Definitely loosening. Just kind of massaging it here. It's crazy how tight they fit these things. Alright, yeah, I've got a gap there now. There we go. Alright, we're out on one side. Perfect. Super easy compared to like sticking drivers down in and being funky. This thing's awesome. Alright, let's get the other side off. There it comes. Alright, lanyard tube is free. Excellent. Now one of my favorite things, one of my favorite things about aftermarket lanyard tubes for these is that they're not flared like the factory one is. So that'll be a welcome change. Alright, so there's our gray G10, which I actually really like the gray G10. So I'm going to keep these around. Maybe I'll even, at some point, I'll make like a cool black and gray with my 10V blade or something. Alright, so I've got liners. I don't need these pliers anymore. And I can actually set all my tools aside for now because at this stage of the process it's going to become about refinishing the blade before we worry about reassembly. So liners I'm not going to do any mod work to. I guess I maybe could like heat anodize them or something because they're steel, but I don't plan on doing that. I'd just rather not mess with them. They're internal parts anyways. So what I've got to do here on the blade is put some nail polish around all the spots that I don't want to get acid etched. So around the pivot where the washers sit and I guess where the detent ball sits in, all of that. So I'm going to put a little bit of pink nail polish on there because that's what my wife had on hand. And then obviously I have to wait for that to dry. And then I'm going to suspend it into the ferric chloride. I've just got a bobby pin here. That's probably what I'll use. I'm not sure on Maxamet how long I'll want to leave it in. I feel like with ferric chloride in general, as I've done acid etching projects in the past, I've left knives in for, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. With how dark I've seen this get, I may do it for longer if I feel like I'm not as dark as I want it to be. We'll have to see. But next step, obviously, is first we gotta protect the parts that need protecting. So I'm gonna cover up for a moment my awesome B. Weiss leather mat here so that I can put some of this nail polish on. Just gonna clean the surface that I'm gonna adhere it to make sure that the nail polish actually gets down on it. Looks like this Maxamet blade was actually made in September of 2020. That's crazy. I thought it would be older being a factory second. Interesting stuff. If you didn't know that, on the inside of a PM2 blade, let me actually show you. There's a kind of a date stamp, if you will. So see right there, it says 920A for some reason. I don't know 100% obviously what they mean, but go ahead and just put a nice little coating where the washer rides. Again, this is going to be hidden once the knife is reassembled, so I don't need it to be like incredibly perfect. I'm going to come up here to where the detent will ride and all that as well. So obviously you want to make sure I've got an even coating so that the acid can't eat away at this spot. Sweet. So let that dry a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get inside here. I'm going to have to clean this all off afterwards. I've got nail polish remover, so before I reassemble it, obviously I don't want the washer the washer's riding on nail polish, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and let that dry for a moment. I may actually pause and go hit it with a blow dryer, see if that can speed things along. In fact, since I'm just holding it anyways, let me make sure this side is clean real quick. All the oil and all that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this side. And then I'll pause the camera and I'll just go hit this with a blow dryer. Nice even coating. Got it a little further down here than I wanted to, so I'm just going to use a Q-tip, clean that up a little bit. Alright, I think I'm actually, just for good measure as well, I don't know how necessary this is, but I'm going to do it in the spot where it locks up. Again, that's a part that you're really not going to see, and I want to make sure that my lockup stays original because this knife was functioning perfectly, so I don't want to mess with that. Alright, so got some nail polish on there. Let's see if I can get that to focus. There you go. Nothing all that crazy, just trying to cover the spots that I feel like I need to worry about. I'm realizing now as well, probably want to cover that hole. Alright, we're going to call that good. So, I'm going to pause you guys momentarily, go hit this with the blow dryer, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I spent about 5 minutes with the blow dryer, just making sure that we're dry enough to work with here. This should be fine. It's going to keep the ferric chloride from getting in. By the way, the ferric chloride that I use, there's still a little bit left in this bottle. I think I ordered this on Amazon, literally. It's just ferric chloride, super easy. This jar I've done a few blades in, and it's still got plenty of life in it from what I can tell. I've also done some funky stuff in it, like I've tried putting aluminum in it, and that was a little bit wild. It like pops and makes crazy fizzing sounds, and then you pull it out and it's like super textured. Anyways, you'll learn that by trying it, or at least I did. But so this is ready to go into the ferric chloride now, except for I always want to make sure that I wipe the blade down really well, because the oils from my fingers that are all over this right now, those could potentially just keep it from like actually hitting the blade evenly, and I want this to be an even etch. I know some people will like splatter nail polish and stuff on because they want to put like a crazy like splatter pattern on it, or you can paint something on the blade. At this point, I'm not really interested in doing that at the moment, so I'm just going to be etching this entire blade. So I've got this pad here. I'm going to use a little bit of the nail polish remover, obviously being careful not to get it on the nail polish itself, but I'm just going to use that to go ahead and get the blade ready. In the meantime, or I guess before I start that, I want to make sure that I've got this ready so that I can go ahead and plop it right down in. Let me make sure this will actually reach all the way across there. It should. Use these pliers real fast again. This is just a bobby pin I stole from my wife's drawer. Alright, just going to bend these ends down, and then in theory, this opened up. Gross. Alright, in theory, this should be able to sit right on there. Perfect, and I can even send it down in a little more. I'm probably going to hold it a lot of the time while it's in there, but I'd rather have the option to set it down if I feel the need to do so. Alright, cool. So that's ready. In fact, let me put this on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and wipe this blade down until inside the pivot. It's actually still kind of tacky, the paint, but it's alright. Alright, so use this side. Just got it nice and wet. Healthy little dousing there. Okay. And then the part up here, right, kind of by the nail polish, I'm going to use a Q-tip for that after. But I'm just going to get the main portion of the blade here with this guy. Make sure I get the spine as well. Getting it all over. Just really want to make sure I get a nice even kind of, not coating, but you know what I mean, with the ferric chloride. Alright, let me take a Q-tip. Kind of soak some of this up. Just making sure I clean all around, everywhere that I'm going to be able to see. You can just see the smudges, at least from where I'm sitting, kind of disappearing right off of there. Deep into there. Make sure I get inside the spidey hole. Alright, I think we're clean. Make sure I give it kind of a moment to dry off because I don't want it to go in there wet, although this should dry quickly because it's basically just alcohol, I think. I don't know. Is nail polish remover just basically rubbing alcohol? If so, why do we have both? Alright, yeah, it evaporated off there super quick. Probably blowing on it is putting more impurities back onto it, isn't it? Alright, just as an extra precaution, I'm going to toss this down onto here again. Alright, you know what I'm actually going to do? Now's the wrong time to change this up, but I'm feeling like I want to make sure I dunk this in really well. So what I'm going to do is just bring that up again. Then I'm going to put kind of an extra tweak on here. Great. Now this should hang kind of like that into the ferric chloride. Alright, I'm going to set a timer on my phone so that I know how long it's in there. I feel like that's the responsible thing to do. Let's just do a stopwatch. Alright, here we go. There we go, just barely covered. This jar is the perfect size. Make sure real quick I don't have any bubbles or anything. Okay. While that is going, I'm going to disappear real quick. I'm probably going to speed this up, but I'm going to go grab some paper towels and a jar of water while this is going, because now I've got time. I'm thinking I'll probably check it at about 5 minutes. I'll see what it looks like. Obviously it's going to be coated in the ferric chloride, so it's somewhat hard to tell until you rinse it, really. But I'll check it at about 5 minutes. I'm probably going to want it in there at least 10, but it's always good to look. So I'll be right back. I'm going to let this keep running. I'll put the timer where you can see it. So there you go. We're coming up on a minute. Alright, I've got a jar of water, got some paper towels, so I'm just gonna try to make sure I'm set up and ready for when it's ready to come out. Nice paper towels there. Put my jar of water. Put it right there. It's still in frame. Cool. I don't think I'll need this anymore because I'm just gonna grab that with my hands. Have another paper towel ready for wiping once it comes out of the water. Alright. Been, coming up on 2.5 minutes. This is the exciting part. Alright, we're coming up on the 5-minute mark. Just a couple of seconds. So when that hits, we're gonna take a look. Oh goodness. Yeah, that is getting real dark real fast. Awesome. Alright, let's give it a couple more minutes because I'm not afraid of it getting even darker. that is darker than I've ever gotten anything to etch, I think, based on what I can see. Obviously, again, still coated at the moment with all of the ferric chloride, so we'll see how it actually looks at the end, but it looks dark. Alright, let's keep it going. We're gonna pull it out again at, I don't know, 7.5 minutes. Alright, we're real close again, 7.5. Alright. Let's look. Goodness. Yeah, from what I can see, it looks like it's almost black. I'm going to go ahead and let it do a full 10 minutes, just because why not? But I can't imagine it's going to get any darker than it already is. Alright, we'll pull it out at 10 and we'll do the rinse. Alright, we've got 10 seconds left until 10 minutes. And cool. It's been in for 10 minutes. Let's call that good. We're going to pull this out of here now. I'll go ahead and let it drip off for a minute. That looks really dark. Alright. Seems to be almost done dripping. Come on. Alright, that's good enough. go ahead and just take this all the way off. And I'm going to set this, I don't know where. I'm going to put it in this little basket thing I've got over here. Alright, I'm going to toss the lid right back onto my ferric chloride. And this is going to go back away until the next time that I have a project for it. Yeah, that looks really, really dark in there. Yep, it got dark. Alright, so let's get this paper towel right over here. Get a little wipe off dry. Obviously this is still a very sharp blade in here, so I gotta remember to be careful. But just kind of dabbing it for a second. Look at that. Looks pretty wild. It got this kind of cool pattern on it. I don't know if it's because of the way that I wiped the alcohol on it, or if this is going to end up wiping off, but it's looking kind of crazy at the moment. Alright, let's go ahead and I think I'm going to run this under the sink for a second, give it kind of a scrub with like a sponge, get all the excess off. It's interesting, when I've done this with other steels in the past, like with M4 and stuff, it has felt a little bit scalier coming out of the ferric chloride. This still feels really smooth. And that, look at that, super dark, and it's got this crazy kind of coloration happening now. I cleaned around that spot before it went in. It's interesting that it's kind of colored different right around the logo. Again, over here. Wild. Alright, I'm going to go give it a little bit of a scrub, so I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so still soaking wet from the sink. I just gave it a little bit of a scrub there. Let's go ahead and clean it off again. It's really smooth. It doesn't feel like scaly at all. I don't know if you've ever done acid etching, but yeah, I've done it on a few steels. Like I started on kind of budget knives like 8CR13 MOV and stuff, and when I do it on steels like that, it would just come out with like kind of a scaly texture on it that would scrub off pretty well, but this doesn't have that. It just came out like really smooth. And the pattern on it, I don't know, maybe, I'm curious to see somebody else who's done this. I'll have to look closely because it's been a while since I've looked, but it almost looks like almost Damascus-ish. Like there's a little bit of a, come on, focus. Do you see how there's like kind of a pattern? I don't know if that's from me rubbing the alcohol on it and I'm just a crazy person, or if that's, I don't know what it is. So just making sure we're all clean and proper here. It's looking really cool. I'm happy with it, that's for sure. Alright, let's go ahead and make sure, really give that a proper wipe. Yeah, it colored differently around the logo. It's funky. Sweet, okay. We're gonna set this aside for a little bit. It looks like you're in now. Let's get this guy and get that nail polish off of there. There's a bunch of nail polish down in the like the actual pivot hole, if you will. So I'm going to need to get that off too. I'm going to use a Q-tip for that part. And probably for in here I'll need like some toothpicks even where these little holes are. But go ahead and get this nice and cleaned up as much as I can on the large scale with the swab. And then I'll switch to the Q-tips. really make sure that I'm clean in all these places. Do not want to gum this pivot up. Let me grab some toothpicks real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, I grabbed a couple of toothpicks. Just going to kind of make sure I get all the way down in here. Yeah, there's some more coming out there. Hole is the perfect diameter to shove a toothpick through. That's hilarious. Alright. Didn't really get any down in there. Alright. So, you can see the spot where the nail polish was is still nice and polished. So that's good. I think it's about time we go ahead and start tossing this knife back together. Alright, let me get all these nasty things out of the way. Now that we're done with anything that's wet other than some KPL when it's time. Alright, so I'll need that. We're back to the mat. Alright. Now we've got these scales. That is going to look really cool together. I am stoked about that. We've got the scales. We have, I don't need toothpicks anymore. We have the pivot. We have the washers. We have our spacer and our stop pin. We've got our new lanyard tube, our new hardware. Go ahead and just pour this out so I can get to it all. Excellent. Even clip screws, perfect. Alright, so that's all there. And we're going to go ahead and start putting it back together. So the lock side is going to be this one with the extra little pocket milled out there. Make sure these are nice and clean before I toss them back in, of course. Alright, that fits like a glove. That fits like a glove. Perfect. So, let me think. I feel like I never have a real rhyme or reason as to what order I go in here, and I probably should. So I can see that the D-shaped side of the pivot goes on this side. That's important. Let's go ahead and toss this onto there for a moment. Why not? Do I need to have this down before that? I do. So before I do that, let's put teeny drop of KPL, teeny drop of KPL, and washer. Now, make sure I've got the D shape here. Excellent. My D shape side of the pivot is set in. I'm going to do myself a favor, and I'm going to thread this just a tiny bit. Grab my T8 driver. Oh yeah, this hardware looks sweet. Alright. Obviously I don't need this to be crazy tight or anything, but now that's going to stay in place. Great. So that's on there. Now, let's just set, first, a little more KPO. I don't know how necessary it is to put it on every single side of the washer, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Alright, blade goes right onto there, no problem. Let's next just kind of work this way, I guess. I'm going to put the stop pin in there and take a body screw, which is one of these. Great. Yeah, look at that. Oh, this is going to look so rad. Alright, so the stop pin is now held into place. Let's do this guy. Why not? YOLO. Alright. Which one of these is my pivot screw? Right there. Okay, I'm not crazy. Go ahead and get this sucker started. Alright, that's on. Now I'm going to take this, and oh, that's so nice. That's just going to sit there. I don't have to mess with it or anything. Alright, good, good, good. Now, let's set this up. Oh, I'm going to need a washer. You can see I gave myself way more clearance, frankly, for the washers than I even needed to. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and let that just kind of lock up for the moment. Did I put KPL on this side of the washer too? I didn't. Okay, KPL is now on every side of the washer, of each washer, I should say. Alright, that's in place. Let's see if I can get this to just set. Oh yeah, that is working like a charm. Toss a body screw right there, and a body screw right there. And we'll get those. Again, I don't need to be tightening anything all the way down right now. Just fitting everything together. That is held in place. That is spinning down in there, but it's on. Alright. And let's put the pivot screw in as well. These are all T8s now, which is pretty rad. This looks so sweet. Alright, let's give you a sneak peek real quick. Look at that! This thing is turning out so legit. Okay. I'm a rookie, so I'm glad this is going fairly well. Alright, we have just about everything in place. Obviously I'm going to need to put a clip on here, but let's go ahead and start tightening these suckers down. I'm going to do these screws back here first. That. And that. Great. Now that is tight. Let's see about this one. Being real careful not to mar up these gorgeous screws right now. That's tight. Now the pivot is obviously not tight yet. Let's see how we're looking. Miraculously, we are actually seemingly centered. That's crazy. Let's tighten these down a little. That one's actually good. Careful. I don't know if my head on here is not quite perfect. It feels a little bit like it's skipping. Or is this a T10? Am I a crazy person? That's a T10. That's why. I am dumb. Okay. So that's a little overly tightened. tiny turn back there. Tiny turn back there. A little tight, but functional. Alright. Oh, that is sweet. Alright. Give me 1 second while I grab the PM2 that we're poaching the clip off of, and I'll be right back so we can put a clip on here. Alright, so the clip that I'm going to be putting on here, I talked about in my unboxing. I'm just going to use this MXG Gear deep carry clip. I really like this clip. I found that functionally, I think it's my favorite clip, actually, even over my Lynch clips. I know that might be heresy to say to some people, but I really like the way that this clip functions. So I'm going to use this clip. Obviously, I'm going to use this hardware, however, and let's go ahead, get it pulled off of here. I think it's going to look sweet on this build. Ditch those black screws. I like to toss screws into clips before I set them up on the knife. This only takes 2 screws, so I'm going to save this last one. Obviously I don't want to lose that in case I ever feel the need to use it, or if I switch clips or something. But let's get this set up. Over tighten on there. Feels good. Alright, so this is what it looks like. And I think it's pretty freaking dope. Look at that sucker. This is like a totally different knife now. These scales also feel, it's so different from normal PM2 scales because there's no texture on them anywhere. And I think these edges are knocked down a little bit more, so it feels a little bit rounder in hand in kind of a nice, comfortable way. Oh man, this is going to be fun. This lanyard tube does have a little bit of rattle because it's just, it's not pressure fit at all. So I may end up seeing if there's something I can do to just kind of stick that in place. Maybe I even just put a tiny bit of Loctite down in there where you can't see it. But for the meantime, this knife is put together. And goodness, look at that thing. I can't believe how dark Maxamet gets. I know I've seen in photos that other people have done it and it looks really rad, but also look at the kind of like pattern that picked up unintentionally. I feel like it vibes well with the pattern of the dark matter carbon. This thing turned out awesome. Obviously my edge is black right now as well. But it still feels as sharp as it did before. If not, it's real close. So I may end up seeing if I can touch up this edge at some point to get the edge like nice and mirrored or something. That might take it to another level, but right now it kind of looks like extra stealth because even the edge is black. This is gnarly. So I guess that'll conclude part 2 of this saga, if you will. The next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and like carry this for a couple of days, use it a little bit, and just see how it feels different from my other PM2s, because like I said in my first video where I unboxed all these components, this is the first time I've had a modified PM2. I've modified Para 3s, Shamans, my Jimbo 2 that I had. I've modified quite a few Spydercos and knives in general, but this is another level. So not only is it a scale swap and a hardware swap and a clip swap, but the blade is rid dyed to it, or not rid dyed, it's acid etched to a really dark tone, and it just looks pretty freaking sweet to me. I dig this. I think it looks great. That's gonna need to smooth out, isn't it? Alright, I might have a little adjusting to do, but it feels good. Alright, thanks guys. This is my newest PM2, and it's a pretty sweet project build, I think. Turned out pretty rad. So you'll be seeing more of it. I'll have a final part soon where I'll kind of review the knife as it sits as a project knife instead of just as a regular PM2. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.